Namaskar. So I am very happy to spend this little time with you all, sharing whatever I found very helpful in my life. Because I started my career as an engineering college student, then served for some time doing research. Then I shifted gears, changed my life, because I felt that each one of us, we have our uniqueness, we have our special capability or talent, so we have to bring out that. Then we feel good. As long as you don't bring it out, you feel something is missing. You feel restless. You feel unhappy. You're not really fully satisfied. So for me, the call was to give my life in this way to service and to serve this great Paramahansa Yoganandaji's work. As the madam had described so nicely about autobiography, I would like to start with that, how I was drawn to this Yogoda Satsang. When I was a final year engineering college student, a fellow student was addicted to drugs. I knew him for a few years. He could never even talk coherently. He was that bad, Then suddenly he changed. So I was wonderstruck. I asked him what happened to him. He had read Autobiography Yogi. He felt quite a bit impressed with that. Then he started the meditation based on Paramahansa Yogananda's teachings. After a few months of this meditation, he felt so good, so fulfilled inside, that he kicked the habit very easily. So I was very impressed. I took the book from him first time when I read that. So that the Autobiography Yogi is something very special. There are so many stories about it. How so many different people were drawn in different ways to that, through that. Now, today I thought, what is very relevant to us in this modern age? Something all of us are very much bothered by it also. That is the stress. That's why we are starting with that. I'm sure you all would have received this write-up, where why there should be so much stress on stress. We start with that. We have given just a small case study done by one CNN news broadcast. They found out that people who are under stress, they are 6 times more likely to be affected with cold virus than others. So that is something very interesting to know. Those who are under stress, they can catch virus, bacteria, viral attack, bacteria attack, etc. much more easily. So the immune system is very much affected by the stress, by the pressures we feel. But then right in the beginning, I would like to make it clear that what is causing the stress at the very deep level, if you try to understand, it is not the fast pace of life, it is not the performance pressure, it is not peer pressure, it is not any external things like that, though they all cause. It is basically unbalanced lifestyle. That's why today's focus is on balanced life. Because when you lead an unbalanced life, then you become a very good candidate for getting affected by stress. If you see the first slide, why do people feel so much pressure today? What is the main reason, if you try to understand at the root level? If all our energies and attention, they are all on the outside, that is the root cause. It may appear very simple, very naive, in fact, simplistic. Can it be so simple? So we'll build up on that. As we go along, we'll see. But then you see the main point is, if our attention is always on the outside, you are looking at the world and all the outer things, you don't learn to turn inside. That's why I'm so happy to be here with you, because your this group is called Center for Mindfulness. So I should be mindful of that. But mindfulness means you really want to understand. So that is why you will very much appreciate compared to someone who doesn't have this type of inclination. You are all very much interested in this type of thing. So for you it will make a lot of sense. If you are mindful of what is the purpose of life, why we are here, what is it we are supposed to be doing here, why we are drawn to this particular place, earth. So this type of questions, they have occurred to people over generations. But then you will see we have got our heritage. Being born in this very special country, India, we are very blessed. Because in contrast to outer technologies where the whole Western world is spending their time, and then after that we also do that. It's good to do that because we need to harness the energies and improve and develop, etc. But then there is one side which is very much neglected throughout the world, which our rishis and munis of ancient India did not neglect. That is the inner, harnessing the consciousness or energy and understanding the powers which are inside, what is happening inside in our mind. Not just what is happening outside and using the energies outside for serving our purpose. So the science of controlling the energy of life and consciousness. So this is what our rishis and munis had discovered and found out. Unfortunately, the world goes through cycles, The progress, we evolve, go up, the civilization goes up, and then it comes down. It's like, in any natural phenomena, like electricity. You see it follows a sine wave. It just goes up and then comes down, goes up, comes down. Similarly, civilizations in the world, they also evolve, go to the high level pinnacle and then come down, reach the nadir, lower level. So these are classified as Kali Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga and the Satya Yuga. So from Satya Yuga again you come down, and then very recently, just few, like about AD, when the first AD you can say, first century, etc. That is the time it had reached the lowest point, the Kali Yuga. Then about 1600 years or 1700, Kali Yuga got over and the Dwapara Yuga has started. So now is the age of ascension. That is why you will be surprised to see within last 200 years or 300 years, so much of progress has been made, which has not been made for thousands of years, hundreds of years. That is because we are in this ascending Dwapara Yuga, where in general humanity can understand what is energy. The electricity was discovered, then magnetism, then all the properties of energy, the various types of energy changing from one form to another form. All these studies, they were all done. And a good understanding is there now. So now at this age, the ancient spiritual science of harnessing that life and consciousness inside, those ancient science is now again coming back to the world. This is one of the roles Yogoda Satsanga Society of India is playing. That is the higher teachings brought again to this world through a line of avatars. We have 4 avatars: Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswarji and Paramahansa Yogananda. Through them, these teachings have again come back. I am not going into the details of that. Those who are interested, as Madam had already said, you could go through check the books, read them, and then you will know more about it. Now, that is what we need, the balance between outer and the inner. We are coming back to that point. That means if we harness only the outer technologies and learn to control all the things outside, but we have no control inside, so then we are having a lot of problems. That is what is happening. Many people have burnouts. Why do they have burnouts? It is because inside what is happening we are not aware. You think that you will be happy by doing more and more outside and remaining all the time doing this, that and being busy. So you remain busy throughout the day and you think that 24 hours is not enough in a day because you want to do so many things and you become so busy. And finally you find that inside you get burnout. So we can avoid all of that by learning simple ways of balancing our lives. How we should not neglect the inner dimension. And we also have 3 dimensions in a general way, if you say, or even 4 dimensions. We have the physical dimension, we have the physical body that has to be kept in a good condition and all that, healthy, efficient, and all that. Then we have the mental dimension where I can divide into 2 portions, intellectual and the emotional. Intelligent side and emotional side. These are the 2 faculties inside, mental faculties. Then we have another faculty which is least understood and least explored, the spiritual faculty. So if you are not mindful of that, of spiritual faculty, then we are asking for trouble. Because that is a very basic, fundamental dimension of our beings. So if you neglect completely that and concentrate mostly only on physical dimension and the intellectual, not even emotional, that's what has been happening for years. Now it is changing. A few decades before, Daniel Goleman, for example, he introduced the concept of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is to understand the emotions which are going on within us and how we are affected by the various things which happen in life and how we react to them. That is very important to know, because I may be a brilliant person in my field, I may be a genius possibly, but then it doesn't mean that I can succeed in life. Because if I don't know how to get along with others, how to interact with others, so then I'm going to be a failure. Daniel Goleman gives a nice example in that book. He talks about one brilliant engineer, computer engineer. He passed out of MIT or somewhere as a gold medalist, and then he got a very good job. So many companies were just wanting to grab him. So the company which hired him, after 6 months they fired him. Really surprising, isn't it? A gold medalist and doing so well, after 6 months the company fired him. Why? Because he could not interact with anybody else at all. He could not be a team player. On his own, he was brilliant, but he could not mix with others and get the best out of everybody. So then it didn't, So that is why now people are paying more attention. I was coming by flight from Bangkok back to Calcutta, returning from USA. I met one Japanese young man who was sitting next to me in the flight. I asked him that, I understood from him that he was going for job interview at Bangkok. From Tokyo he was coming. Then I asked him nowadays, his field was IT, information technology. I asked him, what do they examine these days? They examine only on the subject or anything else? He said 50% on the subject, 50% on how we deal with others. So that means these are being applied now. This emotional intelligence is not only academic concept that is used in the practical field now. And few years before, or I don't remember exactly when, another term people started using, it is coming into the mainstream slowly, spiritual intelligence. That means from intelligence only measuring the skills and capability. The next stage was emotional intelligence, further is spiritual intelligence. And you see our rishis and munis, what they have found out, they have not neglected any dimension. They have covered all this. They have covered all these aspects. Only thing is we don't know where to get those, how to tap them, how to get that knowledge. So that is why I thought we'll share with you that this knowledge is available. You can find out the way you want to get that. Because each one of us, we are attracted, some particular method is suitable to us. You have to discover that, which method is suited to you. Because each one of us, we got our particular build-up of vibration, matching with that vibration, you will find a path which will be appealing to you, which will involve both the heart and head. You are feeling as well as you are using your logical thinking. Now I come to that, the second part. What is success? Let us start from there. We normally think about success as, it's very obvious, prestige, power, wealth, influence, name, fame, isn't it? That's how we normally think about success. I will first share you a small story. Few years before, one of our sannyasis from our organization, we have an international organization, Self-Realization Fellowship, which is with headquarters in Los Angeles, USA. We all do the same thing. We serve India and neighboring countries. Self-realization, they serve rest of the world. One of the monks there, couple of them, they were on a tour to Germany. At Berlin, they had a session like you, young adults. They were all from various fields, and Swamiji was to give a talk, interactive session with them. So he asked them, what do you like to talk about? Then they all said, please talk about success. He said, good, that's quite relevant for everybody. Then, but he said, what is success? Let us first focus on that. And don't just accept what the world tells you, what others tell you. You think for yourself. And then you come out with what is success. You define success. So then a lot of interest in the whole audience. So they all got fired up, and then they started telling. Then he wrote on the blackboard all the points they were saying, what is success. He condensed all of that finally, where the maximum number of people had said, into 3, which he called the Berlin formula for success. So these 3 points, you'll be very surprised to know what these young adults of this younger generation of today, what they think about success. You'll be surprised, none of them talked about wealth, power, prestige. Normally what we usually associate success with. What they said, interesting, 3 things. One is to bring out the human potential. That means each one of us, we have got our uniqueness that is to be brought out. If that is brought out, your life is a success. That's one. Second is to seek and find happiness within me. That means happiness is not in external things, possessing many things or having good relationships, not that way. Within me, to seek and find happiness. The second point. That means you are a truly successful person if you are happy inside. Third point, to balance the material side and the spiritual side. That means we should not neglect any dimension. Material dimension and the spiritual dimension. So you are surprised, isn't it? This is the Berlin formula for success, these 3 points. And Paramahansa Yoganandaji, he defines success. Now if you read this, it will make a lot of sense to you. So it is what you have attained within that determines success. It is to be happy within. That is the measure of success. So which comes by, you watch this line is very important, to remain in peaceful harmony with the cosmic laws. I will explain a little bit again, digress, because I like this like a hobby. The current management people, especially management, I got a hobby. What they are discovering and how they are validating the old principles. Stephen Covey is one of my favorites. I have read his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, long before. And there I found something interesting. He talks about the evolution of the management. So 200, 300 years before, after the Industrial Revolution, those days, a successful manager was one who sets a goal and achieves it. That's it. He sets a goal and just achieves that goal. Simple. But later on, they found that just achieving the goal is not enough. We should prioritize our goals. Because I just feel like I do this, I will do that, I will do that. Whatever you feel like, you just keep doing, there will be chaos. That means you are not directed that way, well directed. Whereas if you prioritize what is more important for you, what is less important, achieve the one which is more important first. This prioritizing, that is a second generation management. Third generation management is value based. What is the value attached to that if you achieve that? And you'll be surprised that the fourth generation. Fourth generation is principle centered management. That means a person who just achieves a goal, he prioritizes and achieves the goals, or he has values with the goals, they are not enough. One has to be in alignment with the principles which are existing in the cosmos. Very surprised, isn't it? It looks like we are reading from our Shastras. The management people are telling that now what we know, from the Shastras. That means there are some very definite cosmic laws or principles by which the whole cosmos is operating. It makes a lot of sense. Everything happens precisely calculated. If you just look at microcosmic or macrocosmic size of the universe at those levels, macro level, if you see the planets and stars and all the stellar systems, they are also precisely defined. The planets are revolving at a particular speed and a particular distance from the next planet and all that, you see, it's all very precisely, everything is designed. Same way, within the atom, within the nuclear, subatomic level, and you see there also it's very precisely all the things have been organized. So it makes a lot of sense that the creator, you can call by whatever name you like, Paramatma, the cosmic consciousness, or God, Bhagavan, Ishwar, whatever way you want, Allah, whatever way you like you can call, it makes no difference. It all, that one supreme intelligence is designed the whole creation and running the whole creation. Once you understand that, then you'll know that there are some rules by which is governing this. They are not arbitrarily governed. So if you understand that, what is success then? To be in alignment with those principles. Then you see, you are very happy inside. When you are in alignment with those principles. When you are not, your conscience, which is inside, which always pricks you, disturbs you. You know that you are not doing correct, you are not correct. Even you may manipulate and do a lot of things outside and project to the other people that you are fine. But inside, you cannot cheat that conscience which is inside. That's why Mahatma Gandhi said, I only obey only one dictator. I don't obey anybody else. I only obey only one dictator. That is my conscience. So that means if you just learn to listen to the conscience and follow the conscience, so then you become successful. So that is what Paramahansa Yogananda says, you have to align with the cosmic principles which are inside. Then how to achieve this all-round success? So success means in all levels we have to achieve success. It's not enough, like I say, I like philosophy. So I have a lot of nice theories, I dwell on that, I do research, I can become an expert in that field. But it doesn't mean that I am a successful person. If I neglect my physical dimension, I neglect my emotional dimension, I neglect this actual spiritual dimension, I only concentrate on intellectual dimension, then I am not a successful person. So we have to achieve success at all levels. That's why Paramahansa Yogananda says, achieve all-round success. These are very common sense principles. To have good health, understand that diseases are not created by God. We invite them because God has created the rules. When we go against the rules, we reap the results. That is the law of karma, that. So which operates. Like for example, if I neglect what I eat, I just carelessly I eat whatever I like, go on eating more and more. Then suddenly I have a health setback. Then I wake up and see what has happened. I realize that it's because I neglected that. So health means, so if you follow the common sense laws, you follow nature, live close to nature, then you find you can remain very healthy and keep the body in a good condition. So that dimension you can take care of. So to be successful means to have good health that way, and to have prosperity. That means whatever you need in life, you should be able to get that. You should have the capability to do that. But prosperity is not just for yourself, it is to share with others. That is the real prosperity. You get and you also share with others. Third point is harmonious human relationships, which already a little bit we dwelt on when we talked about emotional intelligence. So that is very important, we all know that. And that is the most difficult thing, very difficult thing to deal with. Because especially suppose we live with somebody in the same house or same place, some friends or some relatives, and we find that we have lot of problems in getting along. We are entirely different. This can happen among siblings also, brother and brother, sister, brother, sisters. So sometimes you find they are entirely different. And you start fighting and you have quarrels, you have inharmonious relationship. And it can happen between parents and children also. There are so many, we all know from the real life how all these things happen. So this is also an important subject to understand and master, how to have harmonious human relationships. Then you are really a successful person. Fourth is well-defined purpose in life. And very surprisingly, this is one thing which is very much neglected. We don't ask this fundamental question, what is the purpose of life? Why I am here? Because we don't find answers easily. So we give up, we don't even ask the questions. We just start thinking about other things and we don't concentrate on that. But then, if you want to be a really successful person, you should know what you are doing, why you are doing, the reason for doing it, purpose is to be clearly understood. Now let us give a small break and let us do something practical, because you all have come with a lot of eagerness, because you wanted to learn something also. It's not just only theory, but we want to practice also something. So we will practice something very simple, which all of us can do easily. But then those who are interested in learning more, you are welcome. You explore your own methods. One of the methods is following Yogoda Satsanga teachings. There are other methods, whatever you like you can do. But let us now try one very simple method of meditation. In meditation, to be mindful of what is happening inside, you have to be alert. This is the first point. You have to be very alert. If you go to sleep, that's not meditation. Right from the beginning, it should be very clear to us. Meditation is not just simply sitting, relaxing and going to sleep. That's not meditation at all. Because that we are always doing. Sleep, we already know that. So we don't have to sit in a posture and do all these things and go to sleep. So then, to be alert, one point which will help very much to be alert is keep our mind and eyes fixed at the kutastha, the point between the eyebrows, uplifted. Look up and just focus the eyes at the point between the eyebrows. If you just look up like this and then focus there and close your eyes. You can keep them half closed also if you want, because by keeping them closed, suppose you find your eyes come down, then it may be good to keep the eyes up. If you keep the eyes up and focused here, you will be surprised how calm you feel, how concentrated you feel. And in fact, you can check sometimes when you are really alert, very calm, very peaceful, you see automatically you will be able to keep your eyes here. Without much effort you can do that. So this shows that this is one important thing. You're just learning to keep our attention at the point between the eyebrows. So this is one of the points for good meditation. Let us practice just 3 such basic principles. Next is keeping the spine straight. Sitting with a straight spine. This is something we are not taught in our schools or in our homes. But now people are becoming more and more aware with the modern research that when we keep the spine straight, our physical organs, they all function properly, especially lungs. They can cleanse the impure blood nicely. Otherwise, when they are squeezed, they can't work properly. Then we get impure blood remains in the system. We feel tired by that. That's why when you keep the spine straight, you will see always you are full of vitality. That very simple thing. Then mentally also, as you keep the spine straight, you feel enthusiasm and interest. And spiritually, there's a deeper reason also. We have the so-called chakras in the spine, the center for distribution of energy, prana. So when the energy flows freely in the spine by keeping the spine straight, then you will find that spiritually also you will be more awakened and alert with that. Okay, so keeping the spine straight is the second point. Keeping the eyebrows, attention and the eyes placed at the point between the eyebrows, second. Third is keeping the body relaxed. no tension anywhere. So you can keep the arms comfortably wherever you like. Like you can keep like this, the thigh joints, or in the front, or over the knees, as whatever you wish. Just keep them very relaxed way, so there is no tension anywhere. This is very difficult thing to do actually, because we all learn, we all hear, just relax. But exactly how to relax? When you ask that question many times, we don't know. Even when we are thinking that we are relaxed, actually we are tense. We find that our hands are moving, foot is moving, or we are doing something or other. So whenever there is a movement, we are burning up the energy. The prana is burnt there. It is used there. Whereas when you become very relaxed, then you are able to get all the energy inside. That is the purpose of relaxing. Because when you relax, you know what is happening inside. Otherwise, you are only aware of the externals. The energy is tied up in the muscles and externals. So the first is physical relaxation, then we'll have mental relaxation afterwards. So now let us just practice this, keeping the body straight, body comfortable, relaxed, and the spine straight, and the eyes just gently focused at it without any strain. This is another important point. We should not just strain and just force the eyes there, but just keep it a very comfortable way. But be aware that eyes don't come down. That's very important to have a good meditation. Now, in this position, what we will do first is take a few deep breaths. Just inhale, take a long breath and exhale. Let us do 3-4 times this type of deep breaths. And with each exhalation, you relax more. Feel that now you are becoming free. Now, in order to relax more, Paramahansa Yogananda has given one special method called double breathing. What we can do is take a deep breath, tense the whole body, clenching the fist also, tense the whole body first, but taking a breath. Then through the mouth, one short, one long, and relax completely. So let us try again. Take a deep breath and tense the whole body. Then one short, one long, then relax. Let us do once more. Okay. So now let us just continue to remain very relaxed. Now let us start becoming aware of the breath which is going on. Just watch the breath. The breath which is going inside you, within you, just be aware of it. उसको ख्याल करना है, उसको नियंत्रण नहीं करना है, अपने आप जाने दीजिए. जब अंदर प्रवेश कर रहा है उसको वॉच करना, जब बाहर निकल रहा है उसको वॉच करना, केवल वॉच करना, ख्याल करना. And just go on watching the breath, just coming and going, without interfering with that. Okay, thank you. We will do one more meditation technique after a while. So this is a very simple method you can always practice, very easy. Just watch the breath, just let it come and go. And relax the body. And if you do that, you will see, you will discover calmness. And with calmness, you get concentration. And you will find that you are able to focus much better after that. That is why in our schools, we are running schools also and college in rural areas. mostly in West Bengal and Ranchi, then Uttarakhand and Chandigarh. And in West Bengal, those schools, we start the class by making the children just sit in silence for a minute or so. Then they become calm. Then they are able to focus more. They are more alert and they are able to retain what they have learnt also. That means the memory power, concentration power, all of that they increase by just becoming quiet, by becoming still. So if you practice even more advanced methods for achieving that, how much more you will achieve. That is what happens. Advanced teachings like Yoga teachings, the Kriya Yoga teachings, when you practice them, then very quickly we just go inside and we discover that center of stillness inside. And once you discover the stillness, you find it so enjoyable, so wonderful that is. There's so much of peace, so much of joy. That is the God's presence. God is actually within us. He's not outside somewhere. We worship them in the form of, in various, symbolically or represented in various ways outside. But the real worship of God is to be inside. All the religions, they say the same. You go into the esoteric aspects of any religion, Islam or Christian or Hindu religion or anything you take, all of them, they will tell you only one thing. The real worship of God is within, is inside. You can discover what is God. God is actually peace. God is love. God is joy. And how do you experience that? It is by going inside and getting that stillness. So that is why these are higher aspects of that. But here we are talking about now handling the day-to-day pressures and tensions and how we can have a little bit of development on this third dimension, spiritual dimension also. That requires every day spending a little time. You have to do that regularly. If you just learn a little bit, अच्छा लग रहा है, बढ़िया लग रहा है, 1-2 दिन किया, उसके बाद उसको छोड़ दिया. So then it won't work. You have to use your willpower. Do that regularly for a few days or a few months. Then you start discovering how wonderful that is. Then you will not leave it. Because you will give a lot of importance to that because it helps you so much. So that is what is yoga. Yoga is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Patanjali defines yoga that way. That means all the oscillations which are going on in our consciousness, they are all still. You get the state of stillness. So that is what is yoga. So if you introduce yoga in your daily life, you practice yoga in your daily life. Normally, many people think yoga means just practicing asanas or postures. So that is only one aspect of yoga, that is Hatha Yoga. When we say the real yoga, the scientific yoga is where we become still, where we retire inside. And what are the benefits of that? There are so many benefits. One thing which is very directly connected to your student life, that is developing the intuition. If it is not enough just to develop intellect, if you develop only the intellectual side and use only your intelligence in that way, discriminative intelligence or logical intelligence, etc., that is only one side of the intelligence. The other side is using the heart, using the feeling. And intuitively, we find that sometimes we get the knowledge much more rapidly and much better. And I am sure after some few decades, intuition also will become part of the curriculum. Right now it is not so. Right now intuition is thought to be something vague, which we cannot really reliably, we cannot develop it. That is how normally one thinks that. But Paramahansa Yogananda says intuition is a capacity given to all. But some develop, some don't develop. So you can develop them and make it very reliable and very, you can use it when you want. So that is why practice of yoga and getting stillness is very important. Because once you get that calmness, then you find you can increase your work efficiency, productivity, and you will get more time for relaxation and recreation. All these are very important. Later on I will cover a 10-point formula for how to lead a tension-free life. Since the printout has been given to you, you can always refer to that and use it later on. So now to summarize balanced life, that is, we don't neglect any dimension, and especially the spiritual dimension. Since we don't know much about it, I have given a couple of quotations on that. So spiritual consciousness is perfect internal expression of truth that manifests as a balanced, harmonious life outside. That means inside, suppose you are harmonious, outside also you can manifest that harmony. It's very important to have that harmony inside. That's why that internalization, that is the spiritual consciousness. So then to summarize, how do you get true success? Very first we have put there meditation because that is the fundamental dimension. We need to develop that dimension. So meditation is first, intellectual studies, health, happiness, earning a living. So we are not neglecting anything. All the things are covered. Now, before I come to the 10-point formula, there are few more things which are given in the printout to you. Power of affirmation. This is something very interesting, recent, last few decades, more and more mind-body connection. A lot of studies are going on. They all very much bring out this point that the way we think, the attitude we have, that is very important. It is not what we do, it is the attitude with which we do. That is very important. Attitude is more important than the facts, than the real, what exactly we are able to see outside. How we approach it, how we take it. So if we think in a positive way, always cheerfully we are looking at life, with enthusiasm, with interest. So then it is going to reflect in our consciousness the same. So if you look at life in a negative way, because it's very easy to get into that mode, because we always have positive and negative in life. When there is a health, we also have sickness. When there is a day and then we have night. So this world is built on duality. That is why we will always find nothing always positive. You will find positive, negative, mixed. But if we look at it with the right attitude, we look at it in a positive way, then we learn something, a big secret we learn in that way. So affirmation is one of the methods by which you can develop this positive attitude by repeating a statement of truth again and again, more and more. That means first you repeat it verbally, then vocally, then you go inside and become like a whisper, just whisper to yourself, then go deeper and mentally go on repeating, then it goes into the subconscious mind. Then later on, it can go even deeper into the superconscious mind. So then that affirmation will completely change our consciousness. So there is a power in affirmation. So if a person right from the childhood, there are many cases we all know, like two sisters. One sister tells the other sister that, you are not intelligent. I am the intelligent sister and you are not intelligent. So the sister had heard that thought has gone into her mind from childhood. So all the time she comes up in that way. Even after many years later, she thinks that my sister is intelligent, I am not intelligent. And she was doing very nicely in all studies and everything else. But then she had a low self-esteem. She had a sort of inferiority complex. Developed because of that one thought which went so deep and kept on thinking, accepting that is a fact. So you see how important it is right from childhood. It is very important to think positively, use positive thoughts. Never think in a negative way. And if we are got used to thinking in a negative way, we can change it. Neuroplasticity, the new area which is being developed now. It says that our brain is not just hardwired as we thought before. The hardwires, the wiring can be changed. The habits can be changed. So that is very interesting, isn't it? And also the moods. The thoughts create the moods. So we sometimes feel that when a mood comes, we are helpless. We can't change it. We have to just go through that. Once a mood is over, then only we can function properly. But it is not so. By changing the thoughts, we can change our moods, we can control the moods, we can be the master of the moods, we can be the master of our emotions. So this is a great discovery by our rishis and munis long before, which now in a modern language, Paramahansa Yogananda tells us way we can understand. So power of affirmation is that by repeating a statement of truth, which you first have to understand and accept it. Blindly, superstitiously, if you repeat, it won't work. You know, अंधविश्वास करके कोई बोला आपको इसलिए आप उसको करते जा रहे हैं, उससे काम नहीं होगा. You have to think for yourself, accept it, and then you keep on repeating it with enthusiasm, and then it will change. The whole habit will change, whole pattern will change. So let us practice one affirmation now to help us to understand. This affirmation is very simple affirmation, but it requires a little bit of visualization. Affirmation plus visualization, it works even better. Visualization is that in our mind we just visualize something we want to achieve, which so many stories we have heard about one girl in USA was handicapped, but then she had a dream of winning the Olympic medal in swimming, and she did that against all the odds, against the doctors' pronouncements that she cannot do, but she did. Her secret was visualization. Just visualizing that I am going to win that medal. Visualize that and go on working. It's not just enough just to think, but you have to also apply ourselves and make the effort. If you just make practical effort plus visualization, it works. So visualization plus affirmation, let us practice one method now. So again, let us do a little bit of what we did before, preparation. Keep the spine straight, body relaxed, eyes at the Kutastha. Take a few deep breaths and just relax. Now, just visualize a small particle of light at the point between the eyebrows, the center, at the Kutastha center. Just visualize a small light, white light, just forming there. Just imagine a small white light. Now, just think that the light is becoming bigger and bigger, expanding that light. Feel that it is covering your whole face. Starting from the point between the eyebrows, it is covering your whole face. The light is filling the whole face. Now, further imagine, visualize that light expanding, your whole body is filled with that light. Let us continue that expansion in that way mentally. From the body, now let us think the whole room, everybody who is here, all of us, everyone is submerged in that light. Everyone is filled in that light, swimming in that light. Let us further expand, go on. The whole college, Ruya College is now filled in that light, filled with that light. And expand further, whole Matunga area, whole of Mumbai is filled with that light. Expand further, whole of Maharashtra, whole of India, and the whole world. Whole world is floating in that light. Further expand all the stellar systems, stars, they are all floating in that. Whole cosmos is floating in that light. So go on thinking about that light. Now we will do the affirmation. I will first tell you the words, you repeat after me. First we will do loudly, then gradually we will reduce the intensity. It will become less loud, finally whisper, then mentally we will continue for some more time. So let us start. Please repeat after me. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged. It permeates every particle of my being. I am living in that light. Divine Spirit fills me within and without. I am submerged in eternal light. Thank you. So this is one method we just now tried, combining visualization and affirmation. And you find when you do that, you always feel good, you feel nice, you feel calm. So because we are able to connect to the divine source by this. So you have to select some affirmation which is appealing to you, which you can relate to according to your own nature, because each one of us are different. Some may be more motivated by intellectual analysis. For them, intellectual type affirmation is better. Some may be more motivated by feelings. So for them, that appeals to your emotion, that will be good. Or arousing your willpower. Some people are willpower types. Some are imaginative types. So depending on your type, you choose a particular type of affirmation and repeat that again and again till you get that feeling. Today we did very short. It's better to do a little longer. So as you keep on doing, you will get more and more awareness will start coming. Similarly, you can also use music